Hey friends, good morning. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing well today, and I hope you all have a great weekend. It's always nice when the weekend's coming up. Although I'll tell you, I've been trying to do a better job of not just like living for the weekend, because like I always would put everything off to the weekend. And as I've gotten older, I realized that I don't want to do that. Like, I want to enjoy every single day. So happy weekend, but enjoy today also. So look, I still haven't even cleaned up my mess from yesterday's video. That's how it starts. One day you don't clean up your mess, and the next thing you know, your craft room is a disaster. And there's so much stuff in here that if I'm not careful, it gets everywhere. So anyways, before we go out and put on the epoxy, I just wanted to show you this tumbler while it's dry. So now I just put my Mod Podge over the whole thing, but I did wanted to come back and tell you, if you were worried about how it was going to dry, you could always just do your edges. But I want you to see that my edges are down really, 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 really well. Now I do have like a little bit of extra glue in here that I'll probably, I think I'll probably just try and clean some of that up before I put epoxy on it. Just like, I don't know if you could see, but like right here. And that's just where extra glue that I didn't need. So I might see if I could just peel some of that off, or maybe I'll just leave it so that we know what it looks like, you know what I mean? And then we'll be able to say, should we have not, just gone down the whole thing, maybe I should have just done the edges. I think it'll be fine though, regardless, because, the Mod Podge is clear. But anyways, just so you can see, I want you to see how well the Mod Podge worked in keeping the edges down. And it's just really important that you let it dry all the way. If it doesn't dry all the way, then you will get a cloudiness underneath there. So, and the edges are already blended in super good. So when we put our epoxy on, they'll just blend in really nicely. So we're gonna do a light coat of epoxy over it, and then we're gonna do a flood coat. And we're almost done with this tumbler. So, but this is what using those window clings look like with the Mod Podge. And I just wanted to show you and make sure you could see it pretty good before I put the epoxy on it. So, sorry, I just woke up. It is really, really early, but I'm actually still in my pajamas and on my first cup of coffee. But after work, I'm gonna go see my daughter and my grandson, so it'll be late when I get home from work, and I'd really like to have this set so it can go up for you guys. Otherwise, it'll be going up at like 11 o'clock again. All right, so we're going to move out back and we will put some epoxy on this, okay? I'll see you in a minute. All right, so we're going to do our epoxy now. And I've already made my epoxy. I didn't show you that because we did that in our last video. And now the one thing I did want to tell you, if you don't feel comfortable being able to keep this clean, you can tape it back up, okay? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to clean it with my baby wipe because I want to show you both ways, and we had it taped last time. So I have my epoxy. Again, it's my Pro Marine for A and Part B. And so we are going to start with, we're just going to do our nice thin layer of epoxy and make sure that we get everything covered. One thing I can already tell, and there's not a lot I can do about it now, but at least have it to show you guys. And I was thinking about it after it had already dried, but I should have taken like my Cricut tool and squeegeed down over my decal. After I like put the glue on it, I should have taken it and just squeegeed over it and made sure that everything was super flat instead of just using my fingers, because I can already see that I got a couple tiny little bubbles in there. And it's because, you know, there's glitter in it. So, you know, glitter will sometimes be a little bit more raised in a decal. So I definitely should have taken a squeegee and just, like, after I put my glue on, I should have taken my squeegee and just scraped over it and made sure it was completely flat. But I did not do that. So if you use these, make sure that you do that. So right now, I'm just doing a thin coat to make sure everything is completely covered. And I have found that you want this coat here to be very thin. I used to make it more thick and realized that that's how I would get more lumps after I pour. But you want this completely even. Alright, and so now I'm just going to pour. And I'm sorry, I'm right-handed, so it's hard for me to pour without it being... And when you're pouring, just a nice thin lines of it. But I'm going to do about 20 cc's is what my pour is, usually around 20 cc's. Or 20 milliliters. A cc and a milliliter is the same thing, in case you didn't know that. And now if you do your pour too heavy, then your epoxy is not going to have time to move around, and it's just going to fall down onto your table or your turner, and you're just going to be losing epoxy. So you just, when you're doing your pour, make sure it's just super thin. You see how thin my lines are there? And that's how you make sure it's nice and even, just super thin pour. So I am definitely going to have a couple bubbles, and that was more like 25 cc's instead of 20. But I can tell I'm definitely going to have some bubbles in the where the fall sweet fall is, and again, it's because, see, there's a couple little bubbles there, and it's because I didn't take my squeegee over it, which I should have. All right, now I'm going to take my baby wipe and just clean my edges. Again, be careful not to get into anything that you want the epoxy to stick to, because water and epoxy don't mix. And then you can see that epoxy is already starting to level out. And that's why you put it on the turner, because the epoxy is self-leveling. So while it's in motion turning like this, it's going to even itself out. And the trick for me that I have found when I do my pours is to take your time and do that super just thin pour. You're still going to use that same amount of epoxy that you would use, but you just pour it in super, sorry, I pressed down, in super thin lines. And you can see it's already evened out, and it will just keep going. I really wish I had squeegeed the inside of that decal. That's really gonna bug me because it's so super cute. But those couple little spots in there are gonna drive me crazy. However, it really does look pretty. All right, so this is going to run, and then tomorrow we will do our last part. I'll come back to you with it dry, and I will show you what I do to clean up a tumbler, okay? And then it will be all done. All right, hey, listen, I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a blessed and beautiful Friday. And again, thank you so much for stopping in. And I will see you later, my friends. Bye.